Hi, I'm Caroline.
And I'm Adam.
And this is our journey to the Pike Homestead.
Yeah. So where were we last time? We were looking for a new house. Our apartment building's being torn down, and we needed to find a place. We had a couple of years to do this, and it took us the full few years that we had. It was during that time that we had our second child, our daughter.
Yeah.
So that changed what we wanted to look for. So we wanted a house that was close to nature, had a yard for the kids to play in, enough bedrooms for all of us, and close to transit for my work.
Allowed our pets.
And that allowed our pets, yeah. And that was actually really hard. We were searching again for two and a half years, I think.
Yeah.
And so, we looked at a few places, filled in the applications, but there's tons of people. And
the market was very strong at the time, so everybody was looking for rentals. If you had pets, you were bumped down the line from those that didn't have pets.
Yeah.
And, it wasn't that we just had a dog or a cat. We had dogs and cats at the time.
Yeah.
So we decided, well, this isn't getting anywhere. So instead of searching Craigslist for spaces to rent, we decided to just post up and say, hey, this is what we're looking for. This is what we have. If you have a place that matches, would love to see it. So, yeah.
And within half an hour, we had a reply. Said, we've got this place. It's located here. It's got this many things. You want to come take a look? And we did. It hadn't been posted. There's no competition for it yet. They hadn't put in any postings or had any other viewings. So we got our new place.
Yeah. We said, as long as it's not falling apart, we'll take it. Because it hit everything. Well, pretty much everything we needed. So that was awesome.
Yeah. So it was like a 4-bedroom house, but it was a duplex.
So we had to share the space.
Yeah, it had a nice big yard, but it wasn't fenced. And other than that, it was all right.
It was good. Yeah. Our kids got to run around in it, but we didn't quite do the gardening that we wanted to do in the garden. But we did a lot. Our deck was big, so we had a lot of plant pots up there. We had apple trees, pear trees, grapes, strawberries, a lot of herbs. So we was just kind of tinkering around with that and starting some potatoes and stuff. But then we also started getting into composting. Yeah,
so we'd actually adopted some rabbits for my son to take care of. And as part of that, with their litter and everything, we're using wood chip litter. And so we're tossing that out every day, and they already had a compost pile started for the grass in the backyard, so we started adding it to that and mixing it up and seeing how that went. Experimenting, and we're starting to get some good soil out of it.
Yeah, lots of worms, lots of life in it, and really nice, rich soil. So that was exciting.
So we got to put that in some of our pots and see the difference that it made, and it definitely made a difference to how the plants were growing and everything. So that was a lot of fun to do. Yeah.
this time, we were also kind of learning about other things. We've definitely were kind of looking into doing chickens and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We couldn't do it in the house we were in.
Yeah.
But we came across this little program that allowed you to kind of hatch either chickens or ducks or quails. So we got a couple of duck eggs and decided to give those a hatch, and that was a fun little
it's just a farm
example.
kind of homeschooling outreach program where they give you the eggs and
you hatch them and keep them for as long as you want and send them back.
for a few weeks and send them back to the farm.
Yeah.
And, the kids really enjoyed that. The ducks were crazy and a lot of fun. So yeah.
They were hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Swimming around in the bathtub.
Crazy ducks.
Yeah. Yeah, and then COVID-19 happened, and that made us again take some real time to reevaluate things. For me professionally, like my job frustrations had been rising for a couple of years. I was realizing that it was going to be just kind of a dead end position. I wasn't going to get not much growth out of it. And our family dynamic was changing as well.
Yeah, we just had our third child as well, right at the start of COVID. She was born.
Yes, we had our third child, our second daughter. She's almost a year now. So that definitely changed our priorities. As we were going through this, we were realizing that as much as we'd initially wanted to stay in BC and looking further afield for someplace to live, it still wasn't as financially viable as we'd be able to accomplish on what we were doing and what we were making.
Yeah.
Now Caroline has family in Alberta, and some connections there.
Yeah. So we started kind of looking at what places would be like there. What can we get for our money? What could we rent? What boxes would Alberta check over? What BC would check for us?
Yeah. Now, anybody who's lived in Vancouver, I think, will be able to attest to the fact that while everybody in the city and the whole greater Vancouver area is nice,
it's expensive.
It's expensive, but you're also very alone. Mm-hmm. The overall sense of community places is few and far between. Like my workspace was a decent community, but outside of work, we really didn't hang out or do anything. Mm-hmm. So they're great, I loved my job and the people I worked with. There are certain frustrations with my career path and with certain management changes.
But it didn't spill into our outside of work lives.
Yeah. And then I'd come home and it'd be just the family. Yeah.
And it's just so busy. Like you're always having to go somewhere or do something or see the newest thing. And
spend the more money.
And you're just running around trying to chase stuff that you don't actually really get to enjoy.
Yeah, and it was definitely hard to sit back and enjoy what we had. at our new place, we had a lot of birds and everything. We even saw a bear in our front yard not long after we moved in. Is in Port Moody.
Yeah.
So yeah,
nature was good. Yeah,
it was great to see, and it was nice to take that time and notice it. We got some bird feeders for the front yard so we could see them from our window in the living room and watch the birds a ton during the day, and just seeing the variation that we'd get. And so we were really enjoying that. We wanted more of that.
And we wanted more community.
And we wanted more community.
Yeah.
And so with my job and my frustrations there and the whole dynamic of COVID and everything, I ended up being on stress leave for most of last year.
Yeah, and I looked into my work, and I was easily able. I work remote anyway, so I was easy to just move provinces and that kind of thing, no problem. So we're like, well, why don't we just take that leap? Like, this is what we want. Are we going to do it next year, or should we just do it now?
3 children now. Are we ever going to be able to afford a home with 3 kids in BC? And it became apparent that our future wasn't going to be there.
Yeah.
So we made the leap, did some research and settled on the town that we're in now.
Yeah, and found a nice little house on the lake here, as you can see behind us, and
that white out there is ice.
Yeah, all the white is ice.
That's the frozen lake right now. So we're moving. Yeah, we're northeast of Edmonton. So it's still nice and cold and frozen. I've experienced temperatures I've never experienced before, which actually has been great. I haven't minded it. I mean, snow here is fluffy. You can kick it out of the way. It's not horrible to be out in BC. Unlike the dirty, gross slush on the side of the road.
And rain and wet, and I swear at it a lot. But we've enjoyed it. Even the cold, and even with COVID, we haven't been able to really get out and meet a lot of people. But at the same time, we've been able to talk to a lot of people through online and stuff like that. We've met our neighbors virtually and waved and that kind of thing. So it's been really good.
Well, even just walking down the street in town, the amount of people who just say, hi, good morning. It's completely different than BC, where in Vancouver, where you just kind of trudge right past them, and try not to look at people. Yeah,
the only time people said hi to you is when you're just walking on like a nature trail. Yeah. And I think that was just so you don't murder them or something.
Yeah, that or they're panhandling.
Yeah.
So, it's just a different change of pace. Everything is a lot slower paced here, and we're out in a rural area. We're not we're 15 minutes outside of the closest town here. So we have nice. The amount of different types of birds we've seen, the amount of we've seen foxes and deer and everything just in our backyard. Yeah, it has been
amazing.
Great.
And then so basically our main hurdle was, okay, we're in BC, how do we get to Alberta? Because we got to pack up all our stuff, get it all the way over here, and then travel with a dog, 2 rabbits, a cat, and 3 children, and us in a car.
A 9-year-old, a 3-year-old, and a 6-month-old at the time.
Yeah, and try and figure out how to do that. So, we decided to make it a road trip and take the time to come out, and so we did that. And it was awesome.
With a frantic pace to buy a camping trailer. And then trade in the van to get a vehicle that could pull it safely. And then pulling a trailer, which I'd never driven with before, through the mountains in winter. It was
one big snowstorm in the middle of our trip.
It was after the mountains, though, so it was okay. We're so pretty much level.
It was flat, just couldn't see much.
The biggest snowflakes I've ever seen. There's 2 inches across.
But yeah. But yeah, it was a fun little trip. The kids loved it.
Yeah.
And they loved the place when we got here. So
yeah, and well, we still love the place.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And that said, we've got an acre of land here. Not all of it is usable. There's a pretty steep downslope just outside the house here, down to the lake. But there's some usable land, and we've got permission to do a few things. So we'll talk about that later in our next video about what our plans for the future are, and some of the stuff we're going to get up to this year.
Yeah. So now we're here.
Yeah.
So join us as we, continue to forge our way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
subscribe.
Yeah. Thanks for watching. Thanks for spending your time with us. And hopefully things will get a little bit more interesting and exciting as we move forward here, rather than just blathering on about what we've done in the past.
Yeah, we've done our rambles now. No.
Probably not. But okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.